Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will learn from personal stories and explore thought-provoking topics, all with one goal in mind: living a more purposeful life. Welcome, everybody, to episode 203, 203 episodes of the On Purpose podcast. As always, you know it is our privilege and honor to be here with you, and I gotta tell you, man, this week's episode hit me in the old heartstrings. Maybe as a parent, maybe just I'm getting sensitive at my age, but as I was preparing for this episode, watching a couple of this young lady's YouTube videos and her story, man, I realized what an honor and how humbling it is to be able to share stories of people I'm meeting and with all of you and connect our worlds and just recognize how much good's still in the world. So I'm excited to share this story, but before I do, you know what I got to do. I got to hold you accountable. I got to ask you, have you paid your bill this week? Get over, like, subscribe, share. As I said in one of the recent episodes, we're over 24,000 downloads in our history. 24,000 downloads, and I do not have that many reviews. So please help us out. Get over, like, share, subscribe, review. Help us continue to rise to the top and reach our goal of being the most impactful podcast in the world. Delivering purposeful content to people all around the world is our goal, and you can help me by doing that. And if you want to give up a double frappe latte for the month, go to Patreon, the On Purpose podcast, and subscribe to one of our membership options there. You get early access to episodes. You get behind the scenes stuff. Like if you were on Patreon, you would have already seen one of this young lady's YouTube videos because I shared it the day I recorded with her. And every now and then, I'm not going to lie, as I'm tuning the mics and stuff, I throw in a free sing-along for you. You get to hear me singing a song behind the scenes. So join us at patreon.com/the On Purpose podcast to know that your money's going to a good cause of bringing purposeful content around the world. All right, this week I have Kristin Beale on our show. I don't even know where to start with her. She had a crazy accident when she was in high school and went from being told she was going to basically die to then not being told she's not going to walk, she's not going to have a normal life, to now she is a author. She has a TV show. She's competing in marathons as a hand cycler. And she would tell you that she would never take back her accident because it propelled her to the life she has today. So I hope you enjoy this week's interview with Kristin Beale. Kristin, welcome to the On Purpose podcast. How is one of my newest friends doing today?
I'm happy to be here, and I'm doing great. Thank you.
You're doing great. You're not in great. I love that. Like a lot of people say I'm okay, I'm doing good, but you're doing great.
Oh no, life is awesome. I'm having so much fun. I'm great. I'm really great.
That's good. I can't wait to share your story. I appreciate you reaching out to us and sending us your stuff. And as soon as I read it and then I watched your YouTube, and I was like, all right, we got to get her on here. Her story has to go out to the On Purpose community.
I hooked you, right?
You did. Yeah, good work. Good work. So, Kristin, give us a real quick rundown of who you are for the community so they get to know you.
Okay. I am Kristin Beale. I am a published author. I have 3 nonfiction books, 3 nonfiction, 2 books, and 1 comic book about dating in a wheelchair. I also have 1 fiction out, and it kind of tells my story which is very dramatic, but I put a lot of humor in there, and I put a lot of relatability, and I don't know. And then I also my comic book, weekly comic strip illustrator on Instagram and email, and I have an episode of a TV show out right now. It's based on one of my books, and I'm very active. I'm a 16-time marathoner, a wheelchair fencer, and I'm pregnant with my baby. So I'm about to be a mother.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
What TV show?
So it's actually a TV show based off of my book, my comic book, Date Me, which is about dating in a wheelchair. Comic book The book was, I went on 32 dates in 2.5 months, which is like crazy. I wouldn't recommend it, but I got good content out. I made a comic strip out of all these dates, along with some comics about like disability, wheelchair relevant things, just like funny things people say to me or funny, terrible things people say to me, just things that happen, kind of putting light to an annoying situation, which is dating and which is being in a wheelchair. So then I'm working with a production company called Saltfire Studio, and they made a TV show out of my comic book, in my experiences. So episode 1 is, I think there's 4 dates with, there's 6 dates with 4 different guys. There's a whole bunch of different directions that the plot goes in. It's really good. And episode 2 is being worked on right now.
Oh, wow.
But the pilot episode is out on YouTube. If you just date me,
okay,
then you'll see it. Yeah.
Now, did you star in the show too?
I'm in the background, but one
Okay.
thing I realized very quickly is I am a writer and I am a comic strip illustrator, but I am not an actress. I just like, it's like I had 2 lines in the show, and for those 2 lines, I'm like forgetting them. I'm like introducing myself as the wrong person. I'm like giggling. I'm like making fart noises. I'm like, I don't know what. I'm not nervous in front of a camera, but for some reason, I just like lose every sense of who I am in front of the camera. So I'm not an actress, but I'm in the background.
I love it. I love it. That's something else for our audience to look into. Then we got a show to watch as well. All right. Before we get into too much of the real purposeful stuff, Kristin, and the power of your story, I got to make sure you're warmed up, right? Because you're a high level athlete, and I'm not going to just throw you into the main event. I'm going to make sure you're loose and ready to go. So, you ready for this warm up, Kristin?
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, here we go. You find yourself stranded on a deserted island for the rest of your life. You get one food. What are you going to eat?
Okay. Going through my mind is, how long do I want to stay alive? Because I really love blueberries. That's such a lame answer, but I can have something that I love, or I can go for something that sustain me, more like an avocado, which again, I won't live for long, but I'll be happy. Most people probably say like cookies or cake or something more fun, right? But I'm like fruits and vegetables.
Honestly, if I went through the 200 episodes, I bet it's about thirds. Thirds take strategic foods to sustain life.
Okay.
Another third just takes their favorite as food, regardless what it's going to do. And then the other third just kind of surprised me with random stuff. So I really never know what I'm going to get on that answer.
Like quesadillas. Okay, so if I'm on a deserted island, I'm not saying I have a death wish, but I don't want to live for that long on a deserted island. So I'm taking blueberries.
Blueberries,
and that's I'm happy. I'm dead real fast, but I'm happy while I'm doing it.
All right, blueberries it is. All right, Kristin, you get one superpower. One superpower. What is your power and why do you want it?
Okay. If I could have any. Oh goodness. I would have the power to be really good. I mean, this is also maybe a lame answer, but okay, no, it's not. To master any skill, to master a skill, so that I could be knowledgeable. Okay, no, I'm gonna take that back. To be knowledgeable in anything that I speak on.
Love it. Knowledge. Is what I want. You want unlimited knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. Okay. But I won't be arrogant with it, and I won't be like the annoying person I talk to. I'll be humble and I'll pretend like I maybe don't know some answers, but I'll really know.
That's an interesting one there. So you would secretly know all the answers to all the questions I'm about to ask you, but then you would play along with me. So I felt like I was still leading.
I know some people like that. They think they know everything about everything. And it's like, stop. So I wouldn't be like that, but I would know the truth. And if you really want to know, you can ask me and I'll tell you.
There you go. All right. Favorite book?
Gosh. So any book that I'm currently reading.
That's a good
I
one.
rate, if you go on my Goodreads account, you see that I'm a big reader, and you see that I rate almost 99% of the books I read is 5 stars. But I can say my favorite genre is murder mystery. I will not read a book and I won't finish it unless someone kills, someone dies. There's some kind of like mystery to it, which is funny because it's very contrary to my personality. Once you meet me, you're like, really? But any murder mystery, and I can say pretty much any book that I'm reading currently, because I just fall in love with every book. And just fiction is such an amazing thing, people's imagination. So that just fascinates me and
Sure.
inspires me to write my own fiction. It did.
There you go. All right, you get to have dinner with one person. This person can still be with us or may have passed or is from a different generation. Who would you have dinner with and what would you ask them?
Okay. At any point up until maybe now, I would have said Beyonce, but I've kind of lost touch with her a little bit, with her music a little bit. So at this point, can I be lame again and say Jesus? Of course.
No, I'm down with that. Would you,
Of course.
but actually, no. You can be Jesus too. But what? All right. Up until recently, what would you have asked Beyonce? I'm curious on that one too.
Okay. Will you like what would I ask her? Like, I don't know. I don't really know what I would ask her. I would just be happy to like hang out with her. Will you take a picture with me? Will you sign my like skin? And I don't know, but I never thought that far. I just thought, wouldn't it be crazy?
Yeah.
And she used to be like my girl, as she's so many other people's girls, but I just don't listen to her music very much anymore.
Yeah, for sure. All right. What are you gonna ask Jesus then?
I have so many questions, and do I actually? I would ask him. I don't know. I mean, gosh, I feel like there's so many things that like I'm gonna ask one day when I get up
Sure.
there. Um, but I would just play it by ear, I guess. I'm not really sure what I would
Yeah,
ask him.
for sure. Yeah.
On the
No.
spot, I can't think of one question, but I know that things will come up.
Yeah. Honestly, I think if you're sitting at a table with Jesus, you might just sit and listen. You might not have to say a
Yeah, I
word.
mean that's probably what happened. Yeah,
That'd be pretty crazy. All right. How you feeling? You warmed up?
I'm warmed up. Good. A little bit stressed out with those questions, but I'm warmed
Oh,
up.
those questions are the de-stressor. They're the de-stressor. They bring it down for us. All right. Well, as I got ready for your show, Kristen, and one, I want to say you're doing an awesome job, and I love how you've embraced the circumstances in your life and move forward and how you speak out and you share it. And um, it's an honor to be able to have you here and share this part of your story with our audience and hopefully well beyond whoever's listening today and when this airs. So I want to start with you on the jet skiing trip.
Mhm.
Can you kind of talk us through that moment in time and how it set you on this course?
Yeah. So when everything happened, this everything I'm about to tell you, I was a freshman in high school. I was 14 years old. I was on top of the world. I was on 3 competitive sports teams: competition cheerleading, field hockey, and lacrosse. I had um, tan skin, athletic body, tons of friends, cute butt, like great smile. I was just on top of the world. And so I was for freshman year of high school. And then in the summer right after the freshman year, right before sophomore year was about to begin, actually the last weekend before school started, I went on a trip to Lake Aston with 3 of my friends. It was Aubrey, who I had known my whole life through youth group, and Field, who I met the weekend before, and I had a really big crush on him because he was cute. He laughed at my jokes. We just got along well. And then Mark was a guy who I recognized from the hallways in school, but I had never really hung out with him before, never talked to him, new friend. And we went to Lake Aston, stayed at Aubrey's house. On the last day of the trip, we split up onto 2 jet skis, with Field driving Aubrey and Mark driving me. When we're coming out of a no wake zone, something happened. We think that something happened with Mark and I's jet ski, and it slowed down almost to a stop. And Field was behind us driving, and he wasn't paying attention. I think he was turning his head to listen to something Aubrey said, or just not looking forward, not paying attention. And he drove into and on top of my and Mark's jet ski, so slamming into us. And that threw Mark forward into the steering wheel, and he died on impact. And I was in the middle of turning around, like, what is that noise? Slow down. And it hit me on the left side of the head for a right side traumatic brain injury, and the middle of my torso for a T8 spinal cord injury. It threw me into the water, and I was wearing a life vest, so I fell. So I was sitting up, kind of like I was in a chair. Somebody who was in a boat nearby told me it looked like I was sitting straight up in a chair, and I was knocked unconscious, maybe obviously. And that was that accident was what led the paramedics, the boat paramedics, whatever they're called,
Sure.
to say she's gonna die. Like he died on impact, and then she's doesn't have a chance. But they took me to Pitt Memorial Hospital in North Carolina, where they declared Mark dead on arrival, and they said, I'm not far behind him. Called my parents, told them to come down and kind of, this is what's happening, and also say your goodbyes, or there's not really a good chance. I don't know how they worded that. Because there was something wrong with almost every organ in my body. They said, if she does survive, which we don't think she does, we don't think she will, then she won't be able to breathe or talk or swallow, or she'll be a vegetable because of her brain injury, and or walk, or nothing is going to be the same. You've kind of lost Kristin. I hope they worded it a little better than that.
Right.
So I was in Pitt Memorial Hospital for a week until they transported me back to Richmond, Virginia, my hometown, because they couldn't handle my I guess intensity of my accident.
Sure.
So they put me over to Richmond, where I was in Children's Hospital until December. But I woke up, I kind of came back to, which was a miracle, which was my first miracle, in early October. And I had a traumatic brain injury, like I said. So I had short-term memory loss for about a month. So one of my first memories was Halloween in the hospital, which is just as fun as it sounds, which is not very fun at all. And that's when I started. I woke up. Okay, I'm gonna call it woke up.
Sure.
And they said, she's awake. She can breathe. She can talk. She can do all this stuff. But you know what? Now, Kristin and Kristin's parents, you're not going to be able to feel or move below your injury level. The right side of my body was weaker, but they say that's never going to get better. And you're always going to have challenges, and you're in a wheelchair, like, here it is, good luck, have a good one, like, teach you how to push through grass, which at the time was the worst thing that I could possibly imagine.
Push it through grass.
Yeah, little did I know life gets a little bit harder, but and so that's when my kind of journey, to be cliche, to my journey to proving them wrong started.
Yeah.
Because they said, never going to feel or move, so you're never going to walk. Like, you're going to give up sports. Remember how active I was. You're never going to feel from the bottom of your feet. You're never going to really, like, what they didn't say. It's like, you're never going to really truly fit in. You're never going to really, like, be comfortable, like, going out in public because the world was inaccessible and all this stuff. And so my parents, being who they are, and me being who I quickly became, said, yes, she will. Like, no, that's not going to happen. This is not the end. Like, you can't just put a ceiling on her like that. And so they started researching how to prove them wrong, and how to, like, I guess, work against my neurological disorder, spinal cord injury. So I got out of the hospital. I got hurt August 28th, 2005. I got out of the hospital December 5th of 2005. And on December 31st, I was landing in California to work out for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, at a place called Project Walk. And I remember I was a complete injury with just no feeling and no sensation. below like my mid torso. So I came back from that trip in California where I worked my butt off, and I could wiggle my toes. And so that's already, starting to prove them wrong. And so that was kind of like to be cliche again, the kind of the beginning of my journey. So I've been back there 8 times. I've been to Dominican Republic to get stem cells. I've tried every adaptive sport except for basketball that I've ever had access to. I stay very active. I've just live a very healthy lifestyle and a very body focused, rehabilitation focused lifestyle. So that I've regained like a long list of feeling and sensation, and I'm kind of still going.
I love it. Can I take you back to your parents? Because when I watched the YouTube video you have up on your website to get familiar with you, that was one of the first things I was like, wow, your parents weren't making excuses for you. They weren't feeling sorry for you. They were literally like, get
Incredible.
to work. We're going to get out of this hospital. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
How did you feel when your parents showed up with that demeanor? How did that make you feel compared to what you were being told by the staff?
So the effect, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Go backwards. The effect of that was that by the time that I woke up and came to, my parents were so in that mindset, and they had already started research on this place in California, and they had already kind of decided in their minds, we're going to fight this, that I missed my whole opportunity to feel bad for myself or lament the things that I've lost, or, just feel sorry for myself, because it was like, I gotta get better, because we have a plane ticket to California in, 2 weeks. I have to get out of here, which was a very good thing, because I call it wasted time to sit around and feel bad for yourself and pity what you can't change. And so that was a huge benefit to me, is that they got in that headspace, so that when I woke up and learned everything, you can't walk anymore, you can't feel anymore, all this stuff, it was kind of, you can't feel anymore, but the alternative is look at all the stuff that could have happened to you, and look at all the stuff the doctors predicted, but you're doing it, like, awesome. And then also, so that was that. And then I went to California. I'm working out, like I said, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week on a mat. I'm sitting on the mat working out, and right next to me, somebody who's working out just as hard as I am is working to, move their fingers, which I can do with ease because I'm not paralyzed there. So it puts it in perspective, and it humbled the heck out of me. And it just kind of gave me a purpose before I had time to pity things. And that was, I think, the reason that I came out of the gate so strong, and I'm able to keep it going today, because I have that perspective.
Gosh, yeah. As I was watching the video and listening to the story, I'm putting myself in parent mode, like, oh man, how would I handle that if it was my kid there? And like, honestly, I sit back, I'm like, I hope I would have been doing what you just described.
Mm-hmm. It's a hard thing to do. So my first book, Greater Things, it goes back and forth between my stories, which is like kind of more light and humorous, just because that's the person I am, and I'm kind of just like taking it and I'm saying, like, I can't think of an example, but like I'm kind of more lighthearted in looking at it through my perspective, and then it flips back and forth between me and my dad, who kept a caring bridge at the time, to kind of tell his side of the story. So you're seeing my like light, silly, but also struggling, but just getting through it. And then you see my dad's perspective of watching me struggle and, experiencing all this stuff that I'm not experiencing by choice, or just because, I'm just not, that's not. So reading his Caring Bridge journals as I'm adding them to this book and incorporating them into my stories broke my heart. And I'm like,
wow.
why am I crying? Because I know that, like, I'm happy and I know what happened, and I know it turned out well, but like, it just breaks my heart to see what my parents went through, and to read it. And I'm like, that's where I get the foundation of, like, they're the strongest people I know, because I'm like you. I don't know if I'd be able to handle that with my kids.
But now, what are the odds, Kristin, if I ask your parents, if I had your parents on the show, and I was like, who's the strongest person you know? What are the odds they would tell me you?
I mean, they've seen what I've gone through, and I don't want
Yeah,
to like, but they've told me that before.
for
Because,
sure.
but I'm like, no, not like you went through worse things than I went through because I was, sleeping, passed out through most of the bad stuff. Um, but then they see my perspective, my drive, my motivation that I credit to them giving me, but they
Yeah.
see me putting it in action. So it's kind of like I see them and they say me. So it's, we're
It's
just one big happy family.
yeah, no, I'm amazed, and honestly, I don't believe a lot of um, things are circumstantial in life. I don't believe things happen for accidents. I believe everything has a purpose,
Mhm.
and maybe this tragic moment for you was designed just to allow you guys to show the world how damn strong you are.
I think it was very much of, I believe that this happened to me and that we were dealt this hand because we could handle it. Because I know a lot of people. I know of a lot of people who probably couldn't handle it. I know a lot of people who aren't handling it very well. But I think that it was that we were kind of through different things in our life. We were kind of prepared for this. Um, I mean, of course, I give all my credit to God. So he kind of like knew it was going to happen. So he did different things, put different things in our life to kind of prepare us for it. And then so when it happened, it's kind of slam. We can handle it and we can come together and we can swell up and get through it.
Sure. So we go from that incident, we go from your moment there where life takes a turn for you, and you go through
Mhm.
rehab and you come back from California. Talk to me about going back to high school and just I think you mentioned on the video you mentioned like just the reality of everything kind of set in that like things are different now. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that was tough because I'm 15 at the time, sophomore in high school, which is already a very difficult time for a teenager. But then I'm going into it where my peers are getting ready for homecoming and prom, and I'm, just trying to sit up long enough to, you know, get through class, or I'm trying to like, pull my pants while sitting in my chair, go to the bathroom by myself. And I'm on completely different levels. And it was a very big adjustment to get myself into a different mindset, or be in my same rehabilitation, healing myself mindset amongst my peers who are,
Mm,
no discredit to them, but who are like in high school mode.
yeah.
So a lot of the time, a lot of that time in high school and actually in college, it carried over. I felt like I didn't really fit in as much, not really an outsider, but more of like, you guys are doing this, I'm doing this. It's okay, we can blend, but also like I can't get into in college, like I can't get into the drinking and the like college life. And high school, I can't get into like being really excited about prom because I'm just like, you know, broken. I still feel like I'm broken, still trying to like find myself back in that. Um, so that posed a challenge for making friends when I got to college, keeping the friends that I had before my accident. After high school, I didn't like work to keep them, but we were, understandably, because we're young, we
Yeah.
were all immature. While they were trying to figure out how to be friends with me, I was trying to figure out how to love myself and be around myself and how to say what I needed because I didn't even know what I needed. Um, so I lost a lot of friends, but it's fine because I kept the ones that were really good, and I learned a lot about myself. And
It that
college, especially, was one of the hardest times in my life because I was very much by myself in the beginning. But that's when I kind of like grew
yeah.
myself in high school too.
What was it you as you look back now, what was it that you learned about yourself?
How to love myself and how to be okay by myself because high school the high school times right after my accident, I was always around people because I had people that I knew before my accident who were still my friends. I was always around my family. I was always kind of surrounded. But then um but then as college hit, reality kind of hit of like, these people don't already love me. They have no reason to love me. They have to like love me as not Kristin, who we love, and she had this bad situation, and now she's in a wheelchair. They had to know me and like me as Kristin, the girl in the wheelchair. And I had trouble with In the beginning of college, I had trouble with like accepting and being comfortable in my identity. So I didn't really know how to show up, how to show up as fully myself and how to ask, you know, I still don't really know if I'd be comfortable doing it, but asking a stranger like, hey, will you lift me up the stairs to this party so I can get in and like mingle with you guys? I still wouldn't really do that. But that was also a big thing of like accessibility of life, accessibility of college, of the social scene of that. Um, takes a little more extra effort for people that I don't necessarily want to require extra effort from.
Yeah.
So I excluded myself from that in the beginning, and then I kind of, started making friends and got a little bit better about it. But it was
So
tough.
I want to, something that you said that I find interesting is your friends from high school knew you before the accident. So they still knew you. There was just a change. But when you go to
Yeah.
college, it's really the first time for you that people are only meeting you in your new circumstances.
Yes. And I went to a very small school, so I can say, get over yourself, but I can say that people, like everyone kind of knew they'd seen me before. I'm talking like 1 square mile,
Okay.
my campus. So everyone's kind of seen me rolling around before, and I'm kind of like the girl in the wheelchair, like, just the girl in the wheelchair that we don't like. It's kind of this category of other that people put people with disabilities into. I've done it. Everyone's done it. It's not
Sure.
a bad thing just because I don't fully understand somebody. So they're like, okay, they're kind of over here and I'm over here. Um, so that's that's kind of something that I always strive to do with all my work, my books and my comics and my shows and everything, is to kind of take myself out of the category of other and kind of put myself like, I'm just like you. I'm like, I like to whatever, go to sports games too, just like you. I'm just, a little bit shorter. I'm just sitting down and it's fine. I'm just like a normal person. So I kind of want to bring myself into the relatability of that.
Okay. Did you, did you have, because you're very strong willed, right? It's very
Mhm.
clear, like you're strong willed, like your parents are strong willed. So did you have an adjustment period of allowing yourself to get close to people that were meeting you in the new circumstance because you didn't want them feeling sorry for you?
Um, yes, and I can say all of that hardship and not all of it, but most of the hardship and realization and kind of rerouting of how I acted and showed up to people was freshman year of college because that was like the first time I was thrown into like, oh wait, I have to like kind of realizing like, oh, I have to be different or I have to try harder in order to get these people on my side or like to make friends in order to be
Mm,
able to relax. So that was a lot of trusting, whether it's vulnerability or it's physically trusting you to like help me up these stairs,
sure.
um, or like trusting to be around you. Because again, I was like, you know, going to class in the morning, working out for 2 hours in the gym, and then going to two classes in the afternoon. So I'm very whereas like everyone else is like, just being college kids. I'm very driven in my rehabilitation at the same time as I'm trying to get through college and all this other normal stuff. So it was kind of trusting other people to let my barriers down around them.
Yeah.
Of I want to be around you and I want to be your friend and I want to blend in here, but I also don't want to get myself off track and I don't want to like completely be susceptible to like you know just college things. I had
Sure.
to kind of I had to check myself a lot, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
So what was there an aha moment or a time where it just dawned on you like you are going to make the best of all of this and there's no holding you back from here?
Yes, that was sophomore after my freshman year of college, and I said I don't want to go back to. I don't want to do freshman year again. Like I don't want to go back and be sad and be lonely and not have friends or like live that terrible year that I just had freshman year of college of like just being lonely and being alone and not having friends and not doing much and not being in the community. I didn't really feel like I was being true to myself and my personality, because I'm a very outgoing,
Right.
cheerful, happy person. But that year was just sad and not happy. So before I went back to my sophomore year, I said, I'm going to go back right off the bat. I'm going to join clubs. I'm going to like talk to people. I'm going to make friends. I'm going to invite people over to my dorm. I'm going to have roommates because I didn't have a roommate freshman year. I'm going to have roommates so that I'm around people, like whether I like it or not. And so that was my aha of I can be this rehabilitation driven person, but I also, if I want to be happy for me, I need to be around people. I need to like be in myself more.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So it's almost like you had to re-find yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of adult level, mature level thinking required, which was very annoying because in high school after my accident and in college, I had to like grow up really fast because of just everything extra that I'm dealing with.
Yep.
And then just all the extra challenges and, social things that are posed with my situation, that it's very annoying that I had to like come to this stuff so quickly because, it's annoying, but it's also great because of who I am today. And I'm more, better perspective, but it's a lot of self-realization is the key.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of giving yourself grace for not being the best all the time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think we can all learn on that, right? Like we all make
Yeah.
mistakes, we all do things, and give yourself grace, Like we don't have to be perfect.
Mhm.
So your hard work, your rehab, and then you find marathoning and fencing amongst other activities to invest your time in.
Yeah. So the hand cycling, which is the marathons,
Yep.
it's kind of free bikes, moving with my arms, and I go in marathons alongside runners. That was the result of a late night, just like Facebook scroll. I saw someone that I knew who's in a wheelchair doing riding a hand cycle, doing a marathon, and I'm like, in this like, honestly, it was one night's worth. In this rush of impulsivity and like, late night, I signed up with Achilles and I signed up for the New York City Marathon 2011, and all the while I'm like, what is that bike called that he's rolling on? How long is a marathon? Like, is this gonna be hard? I don't know. And so that was kind of, and then Achilles International, who is an excellent company, they actually got me my first hand cycle. I did my first marathon in 2011, like 4.5 hours, but I did it. I have the medal, and that's all it is. I was kind of like the first introduction to hand cycling, which is where I truly found my passion. Because I've tried last I counted, it was 17 adaptive sports, 17 different adaptive sports. Again, everyone I have access to except for basketball, just not interested.
Okay. Okay.
And so I've tried all those. I found hand cycling. I love that. I've done 16 marathons, and adaptive wheelchair fencing is the newest one. I've been doing that for 3 years, and I've competed nationally 4 times. Trained in the Olympic Training Center in Colorado 2 times,
Right.
and it's just fun. And it's so opposite from my personality because, as you can maybe tell, I'm like a flower, like a sweet flower, like sweet, optimistic, whatever. But then I'm fencing, and then it's just a whole different switch of personality. So it's really fun.
What is it about marathoning that has captivated, made you want to do? What did you say, 17, 16 of them?
16. I love that so much because it's my opportunity to show up in something other than my wheelchair, and something other than a wheelchair, something that's people can look at me and say, oh, that's really cool, that's impressive, like a whole marathon, really, like I could never do that, whatever they say, but like that's really cool, versus looking at me in my wheelchair and saying like, poor girl, she can't walk, or like kind of focusing on hand cycling is focusing on something that I can do and I am doing, versus me in my wheelchair of something that like she can't walk, she can't do this. So maybe that's all in my head.
Yeah.
I'm making that up. I feel like I'm just showing up in a different way in that space, that it's just something really cool and like different that I'm doing, versus like being in a wheelchair, which is, great. And I'm happy about my wheelchair and I love it. And I'm confident, but it's kind of
Yeah.
lame. Versus it's pretty cool. And I can also, it's also one of the few things that I can work really hard and see a result of my hard work in my time and my speed and how many marathons I complete versus my life as a disabled person. There's so much ambiguity and there's so much like, I'm going to work really hard, or I'm going to think really hard about my toes, but maybe they won't move, or I'm going to work really hard and like, maybe one day I'll see a result. It's kind of like a direct, I work hard and I can see the result, like it used to be with my sports.
Right. No, that's fantastic. What's been the hardest part of marathoning or fencing or adaptive sports? What's been the biggest obstacle for you to overcome with those?
Well, with hand cycling in particular, my realization that I'm getting older, I guess, and I have to train more. Because I did the New York Marathon. I got my bike 2.5 weeks before I did the marathon, and I got my bike and I'm like, what is this thing called? Like, how do I ride it? And then 2.5 weeks later, I was doing the marathon. And so it was very much like, I'm young, my body can bounce back. I don't have to train much. And then now, I'm not old, but I'm 32 years old. I have to train. I get to train a lot because I love it.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing I need to give more to this so it can give back to me. And I guess the hardest thing is just doing it,
Yeah.
which is not hard, fun, but it's just doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of time. Like, I mean, if you're going to go train for a marathon, you're out there for hours at a time.
Yeah, which is fun, but it's also a lot of time.
You still only got 24 of them in a day, my friend, no matter how you slice it, right?
I can spend 20 of them riding my bike, though. I'm kidding, but
all right,
that'd be fun.
Let's talk about your writing. So I looked at some of the comics, and I definitely find those entertaining on Instagram. What is it? What has writing done for you, and why is it so important?
Writing has been an outlet since the very beginning. So I came back to school as a sophomore halfway through the year because I was in California, and I took a creative writing class because I heard it's an easy A, and that's what I needed at the time because I was distracted with rehabilitation and all that stuff. And then I took that class and I realized that I am good at writing. I enjoy it. I have a lot to say. My first story was about adaptive skiing, which was my first adaptive sport. And I have a lot of stories in my life that were coming up in my life because I was just like entering the world of disability that I can write about. And so so that's how I used it in the beginning, of a way to not only remember details, but to kind of process my new world. And so that's in Greater Things is a bunch of stories with all those stories that I wrote. And so now I'm kind of using it now at this point, 4 books on, I'm using it as a way to, my purpose of writing a book, my goal in writing a book is to put a face behind a disability. Again, we're in the other category, rightly so, or, whatever. But to show the personality behind the other, of I'm just like you. I experience frustrations. I struggle with, things, but I'm also a happy person. I'm normal. Whatever. So just to put a face behind my disability is my purpose of writing my books.
What's been, would you say, that the biggest obstacle for you in getting them out there, or just internally? Because I always think of, we all face something, right? Like, what for you has been the biggest obstacle to overcome to finding the confidence to share books and to create that?
Well, if I have one thing, it's confidence. I have now at this point that you can read Greater Things, for example, and you're privy, because I wrote those stories for myself only. I didn't plan on publishing them until 9 years on. So, and I didn't change anything when I published them.
Wow.
So you can read books and you can know almost every detail and every thought of 9 years of my life. So, and that's very, when I published that book, it was terrifying because terrified is a little strong, but I was nervous because I
Yeah.
was like, these people are going to know everything, and like I have no secrets in that writing, so I have no secrets about to be published to the world. And so that kind of taught me, that was my lesson in my test and vulnerability. We'll say it's that's when I started to say, with when I see the effect of that book, the effect that people had on that book and the feedback they gave me, I said, this is, scary, nervous, terrifying, whatever you're going to call it, for me to put this all out there. But look at the impact that it's having. The more vulnerable I am, the more I can connect with people, and I can relate to them. And people can read it and say, oh wow, I would have never, like, either I go through that too, or I would have never put that out there, but I'm glad she did because I feel the exact same way.
Mm.
Or I never thought about that, but that's a good perspective. And like, she goes through so whatever they could say about it. So that was just the big thing. The challenge is letting
Yeah.
all my walls completely down and opening myself up to, hopefully millions and millions of strangers. Don't want everyone to read my books, but just being vulnerable, and being okay with everyone knowing everything.
And now the
'Cause,
greater things is where you included your dad's notes as well, right?
correct, yeah. hmm
How did he, what was his feedback to you when you threw that idea at him?
His feedback was, I'm glad you did it. And that was a result of people like the parents' age, same
Sure.
age, saying, I can read the book, but I didn't think about, like you said, like they can put themselves in the place of my parents, and they can understand what they went through because they're reading what my parents did. So I'm able to touch people my age, more around my age, and then people that are older too.
Yep.
So I'm glad, and my dad is glad that that perspective is out there. So it's not just all me saying like, I fell out of my chair today, but it's okay. I got back up. It's
Right.
my dad's. She fell out of her chair. She could have broken her, whatever. We were all really scared. We took her to the doctor, whatever. I made that situation up, but just the perspective, I guess. I think everyone is thankful. I'm putting those words in everyone's mouth, but
That's all
everyone is
right.
thankful for our different perspective
Yeah.
of it.
And now you got the comics that come out weekly, it looks like.
hmm
Um, what's why comics? Why are you using that as kind of an avenue to share your story?
Uh-huh. So those are more fun. I started those. I was just drawing comics just because the drawing is, fun, and whatever. And then I started that. I started those with the intention of, it's just a different way for people to ingest my content, so I can appeal to more people,
Yeah.
and it's fun for me. And I'm making the comics anyway, so why not just put them out there and see if they land? Um, and that's and so but my comics have kind of formed into, things that everyone can apply to, things that apply to everyone, but I'm just a character in there. So you can see, okay, like this is all this content is relatable, and like same for me for all of this stuff. And Kristin is just a character in this comic. So it kind of works to the relatability of like, I had the same thing as you guys. Like I feel all the same things and I experience the same stuff. And I'm just like a player in that
Yeah.
story. So it kind of brings me into the crowd a little
Yeah. Yeah.
more. And then it's fun to have a humorous, entertaining take on things that are, serious or crummy, or just
Yeah.
regular life.
Yeah, no, I think a sense of humor is fantastic, especially in today's world where everything's
Thank
so
you.
like not funny at times.
Thank you.
All right, so before we wrap up, I gotta know the Date Me series.
Yeah.
Was that your idea?
Yeah. Everyone loves to talk about the Date Me one because that is one of my most fun, projects, because I literally went on 32 dates in 2.5 months, lunch date, like 2 different boys in one day, sometimes like 4 different dates a week. Lost my mind, not with the intention of, getting a good story and like exploiting these boys, but more with the intention of like, I want to meet someone quality, but like I'm going into it like I want a relationship, all that stuff. I want to meet people, but at the end of a lot of dates, I said, why, like, why am I wasting so much time and money and effort going on these dates? Like, I want to make something out of it at least. So that's when I started making comics of them. And then I had the idea of like, let's do something with these comics. I put them in the book. But that's been really fun because I'll say like 4 or 5 people that I make a comic about them, and I never really have to talk to them again, because most of them, like, if you read the book, you'll see like most of them are like very rude, very horny, like just don't have manners, just very stuck up on my disability.
Yeah.
For one, the main theme was like, I didn't think that my disability is such a big deal. Like, I'm just like in a wheelchair. It's not really a big deal. But then I kind of learned in that dating that it's a bigger deal than I think, than I thought. And people need to like accept it. And they have a lot of questions, which I'm totally fine with. But they just like don't really know how to act. And that's what I kind of amplified on. And that's what I made the book of just funny and ridiculous things, and like sometimes terrible ways that people react to my disability. But it's like, let's just laugh about it, because dating sucks for everyone. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not terrible, but it's hard for everyone. So let's just laugh at it and laugh at this different angle, and maybe you can relate to something. And like I said, 4 or 5 guys found out about it. They're going to be in a book. I just changed their name so that they can't be identified, and I just put them in there. And half of them were cool with it. Like, that's cool as long as you change my name. Sorry about how that turned out. Me too, but not really, because I got this book. And then a couple of them never talked to me again, which is fine, because I wasn't, we weren't really talking anyway. And one of them got angry about it. But
what was he angry about?
Just the fact that he was in there, and then I was like, nothing I said was not true. Like, that's what happened. We literally watched Schindler's List on our first date, because I let him pick the movie.
It's been a lot.
And I'm like, how did you think that was going to end up? How did you dating an author? How did you not know you were going to be in a book? I'm kidding, but not really.
I've been married for let's see, 26 years coming up. So it's been a long time since I dated. But now, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristin, Schindler's List still is not first date movie material.
It's not quite. Send the right message.
Okay. So I'm not too rusty then. Even I was like, oh, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
No, you're good. Yeah. Yeah. So I can look back on that book and be like, oh, thank God I'm not dating anymore, because it was just bad.
Okay. So you did find someone then. So you're out of the dating game.
I'm out of dating. I did not meet him on an app. I did not meet him like in the whole date me thing. I actually met him. There's a lesson in this that I'm not going to try to teach, but I met him when I deleted the app, and I went to church, and I met him at church. Okay. And we've been married for 2 years and having a baby in a couple months.
Congratulations.
Like, the rest is history, but it was after I deleted the app and went to church. So I'll let you take from that what you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he does not have a chapter in the book.
No, he doesn't, because he came when the book was already published.
Okay.
And so when I met him, I said, I pretty much like published like how-to guide. Or my dad said, she's pretty much published a how-to guide to how to date her and like how to treat her. I'm like, yeah. And he said, I just don't want to read it, because it's just like a bunch of terrible things, and like I want to figure this out on my own. Just like a bunch of terrible dates, and like I just want to figure this out on my own. So I don't know. I think he's maybe read it at this point, but maybe not. I don't know.
And when is the little one due?
April, the end of April.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, the end of this month, the 26th, little boy.
Oh, congratulations again.
Kristin, thank you so much.
As we wrap up, can you share maybe a couple tips of advice to our community members that are maybe kind of stuck and feeling sorry for themselves about a circumstance, or just not taking action towards their dreams? What would you tell them to do?
Yes, one big thing that really flipped my whole situation is I sat down and I thought about what makes me happy, and what do I need to do to make myself happy, and who do I need in my life? Like, what do I need to do? What are my hobbies? Like, just all the things. What are my hobbies? What are my lifestyle? And I did that, and I made sure that I prioritized myself and my happiness. And in getting there, I guess, to find out what makes me happy, also I tried everything. I didn't say no to anything, including a first date, which I don't really recommend, but I tried everything. That's how I found fencing and hand cycling. I hate to run. I'm not an aggressive person, but here I am doing marathons and fencing, because two things that I would never thought that I liked. Um, just two examples, but I just tried everything, and then I figured out which of these things make me happy, and that's what I filled my life with until I'm able to kind of maintain, until I can figure out how to take care of myself, because that's how I show up to others. That's what attracts other people to me,
Yeah.
and that's how I kind of go to sleep with a smile on my face every night.
I love it. Kristin, thanks so much for joining us and allowing us the honor of sharing your story with our community.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.